Congratulations and good morning. We are so excited to have so many people joining us today for the PR and evaluation workshop session from our spring application cycle. We are so thrilled to support so many of you in a wide variety of programs and services. And we look forward to hearing all the great things that are happening as the year progresses. All right. Let me start by saying if you need the logo, if you're looking for our grantee communications kit, if you need any other sort of just general overviews, visit the Marketing Your Grant page on our website. Most of you, or all of you now, have been through the website for various reasons. And so when you're in the nonprofit section on the far right is the resources drop-down menu, where you find the grant evaluation button, which we'll get to in just a little bit, as well as the Marketing Your Grant button. There's the communications kit. This is an older screenshot, but I'll upload the PowerPoint slides there, as well as the link to this recording when it's ready next week. And it also has if throughout your grant or at any time, we love to hear how things are going with you. We love photos. I'm going to make lots of requests for photos and videos and snippets throughout this presentation. But there is a short form on our website where you can just do a quick update or share something special that's going on. You are also always welcome to send us emails at any time. We love to hear from you. Little housekeeping. I continue to make this housekeeping request. The name of the foundation is the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. When you're using our foundation name, please use Community Foundation of Middlesex County. You are also welcome, once you designate the full name in any announcements, to shorten it to CFMC or the Community Foundation. Please do not refer to the Community Foundation as Middlesex Community Foundation, Middlesex Foundation, or just the foundation. We don't use the foundation because there are a lot of foundations, as you know, out there and both private family foundations as well as charitable foundations similar to ours. So that becomes a confusing term. And we do prefer the CFMC acronym or our full name. When and how to use the Community Foundation in an announcement, you can state that the Community Foundation the grant funding is provided by the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. Your program or service is funded in part by the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. Certain funds, particularly our field of interest funds, and we have some, I'll refer to those in just a little bit, but for example, the Deep River Cares Fund, the Killingworth Community Fund may be very specific to your footprint. The Janvrin Fund is very specific for certain projects. So you can refer to those funds as well. In your initial grant agreement letters, you may have received a series of fund names just to let you know the wonderful donors in the past who have established unrestricted named funds for us to use in the process. You don't necessarily need to use all of those, but certain of our field of interest funds, particularly those that may be geographically specific, such as Deep River or Killingworth, or focus area specific, such as the Fund for Women and Girls or the ARF Fund, you are welcome to use those fund names in any announcements and social media or external media posts that you may be preparing. When and how to use our logos. Whenever possible, we do prefer the full logo use. That is the one at the top in the center, which is our acronym, our full name, as well as our tagline. So that is our main logo. And whenever possible, please use that one. If you're doing an announcement and you refer to the Community Foundation by name within your announcement, and then you want to use a logo on a side bar along with it. You can use just the circle acronym logo, but somewhere nearby the use of the circle acronym, we do ask that the full name of the community foundation be used within a narrative text so that the connection is made. And when you do that, when you're writing out the name Community Foundation of Middlesex County, you can put in parentheses CFMC. So it connects with that circle logo. We've worked very hard. The circle logo is becoming much more known throughout our footprint, but not everybody knows exactly what it means. And so we continue to, through our own media and announcements, to make that connection so it becomes very well known in the community. And we appreciate your help, because when you do that, it also helps to raise awareness so that people recognize that in conjunction with many of the programs and services that we have funded. There are occasions when you might be using our logo, say with a lot of other funder logos on a flyer, or maybe on a poster or a brochure that you're doing about your program, where when you want to use our full logo, the bottom tagline becomes illegible. So we prefer that not happen. If you need to use a logo with just the circle and the Community Foundation name, please let me know. We have a reduced cropped size of that works really well in certain situations, particularly like, for example, maybe on the footer of a website, if you have a funders page where you're reeling a lot of logos and it's not, and the philanthropy leadership legacy piece is not legible, then you can take that piece off. And if you need an alternative version of the logo, you just reach out to us. We're happy to provide that. As I mentioned, certain grants are meeting very specific needs or have geographic footprints, and we have designed certain logos for those uses. So, for example, if your funding is from the Killingworth Community Fund at CFMC, we love to shout out about the fact that the Killingworth community has a fund here and it's supporting programs and services in the Killingworth community. We can provide that. These specialized logos are not available on the website. You need to reach out to us for those, with the exception of the Ascend Bank Community Foundation Partnership, which is available on the Marketing Your Grant webpage. And that is used whenever your agreement letter and any other communication, whenever communications are coming from us that reference your grant being funded through our partnership with Ascend Bank. So these are the primary, there's one other we have, which is the Animal Respect and Friendship Fund. I didn't realize it wasn't on here. We have a logo for that one as well, if that was your funding, primary funding for your grant. Otherwise, all grants can use the Community Foundation logo. And even these, if you're just listing in, if you've received support through the Community Foundation in a variety of avenues, you can always use the single Community Foundation of Middlesex County. I have, if two funds that have their own logos have funded your grant, we'll use the Fund for Women and Girls and the Killingworth Community Fund as an example. If you're writing an announcement, say on social media, or if you're preparing a press release for your local paper, in the actual announcement, you can reference both funds that made your grant possible. We always appreciate that the community know about both of them. But when it comes to using the logos, in that case, we would ask you just to use the Community Foundation logo as a whole, and not the individual logos for the funds, because that gets a little complicated. And if you have specific questions about when to use logos or how to use them or what to use them, or when even just to mention a fund versus mentioning just the community grant funding provided by the Community Foundation, please reach out. We're happy to help you with those questions. We'll look at how it's being used and then provide guidance on that. So the many ways you help us thank the wide variety of donors that support our grant making are through your stories, your articles, and your photos. When you send those to us, we then share those out with donors. We share out your thank you cards and your letters. This is a wonderful example from when we supported a program, pollinator garden at Bealefield Elementary. They had all the kids sign a poster board for us, and we shared that out with the committees. We love your videos, both those that are on social media and those that are on channels such as YouTube and Vimeo, and those links are shared with us. We share those out and incorporate them in our messaging about how the types of grants that we're making and what those grants look like in the community. We also will share information through our site visits, both in person and virtual, when we bring our committees together with our grantees. And then, of course, your final evaluation narrative is another story. It's another way to explain how the grant funding helped you make an impact. And then we utilize that when we are working with donors and committees to share out the outcomes of your programs. These are just the many ways that we're doing outreach and highlighting the grants and the nonprofits that we have supported. And it could be through our email updates we do on social media. I'm in the process, many of you have already posted wonderful things on social media that are showing, that are expressing gratitude for your grants. Thank you very much, but are showing how that grant is already maybe going into action. I've been doing a lot of social media clips lately so that we can share those out with donors and with fund committees that have just finished the process. Those have been a lot of fun. And your reels too, I've been pulling those down. You are always welcome to send thank you letters and thank you notes. Send them care of the Community Foundation. We will make sure that those go out. We do provide updates at our board of directors meetings about the status of grants and the impacts of grants. We utilize a lot of your information, your stories, and your photos in the reports to the board. And then, of course, we're working on our annual report to the committee. So here's my big call for photos, videos, particularly photos. And if you are a current grantee as well as a past grantee from the recent cycle, the recent years, the last 2 recent years, if you have some outstanding photos, I've got lots of space to fill right now, and I am on the hunt for photos. So please get those photos to me, and we will be happy to share them out. We love your photos. Your photos are so much fun. We're also doing some refresh with some photos on the website. We've had the new website up and running for a couple of years now. And so we're going back through and refreshing photos there. And those are very useful as we update various pages. And then, of course, your videos are so much fun. Thank you so much. They help us show a lot of what's going on in the community and the impacts of your work. And those are very helpful in our communications work. Many of you work with at-risk populations, and we recognize the need to protect those at-risk populations. So there are we've had some wonderful out-of-the-box thinking of how to show that impact without putting those individuals at further risk in the community, or particularly with children. We're very careful with children. We recognize we don't ever use last names. We rarely use first names unless there's a reason to do so. These are some examples, for example, that organizations have done in the past. Read to Grow had the kids hold their books up in front of their faces and stand with holding their books in the air. That was a great way to show the students getting their books without running any risk of a child that couldn't be shown in a photo. And Shoreline Soup Kitchens and Pantries, their volunteers are very gracious about being in photos, or they take larger photos of as they're preparing. So these are 2 ways to think about how to show your work without putting a population at risk when it's used publicly. We love videos of all kinds where we incorporate them into our videos. We share them at our board meetings and we send the links out to our committees and donors that support our grants. So you can create or adapt a short video for the Community Foundation. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, long ones are wonderful, but it could be really short. They can be 30 seconds. They can be a minute to 2 minutes. You can say thank you. You could show your impact, your work, highlighting a specific program or service. Anything goes. We just love to be able to make the connection between the work you do and the funding that the Community Foundation is able to make, thanks to the generosity of our community. And when you send them, please don't try to upload them to the evaluation site. We'll get to that in a minute, but please don't try to upload them into your evaluation. They're just too big. We also have maximum capacity on emails that are coming through. So if you use a sharing site, such as Dropbox, you can send us the link and give us access to it that way. If you utilize a video channel such as YouTube, you can send the URL link and we can rework that itself. So there are a variety of ways to get that video to us if you make it. If you do a reel on a social media site such as Facebook or Instagram, please tag us. I'll give you the tags in just a moment, but tag us so that we get notified. And you're also welcome to just shoot a quick email and let me know that it's out there, and we'll go out and we will reshare it as well, or pull it down and utilize it in some other outreach that we're doing. And we've gotten some fun ones in the last several years as more and more organizations are utilizing video, short video snippets to help show exactly what they're doing. It's a great way to catch people's attention. So as I mentioned, if you're sharing video files, please do not try to upload them to the evaluation form. They're way too big to process. And they are often too big to attach to an email because video files are usually getting very close to the gigabyte size. So you can use a file sharing platform and send the link to my attention. Just please make sure you've given me access to download it. You can use a share link from your own video site. If you don't use video channels, we often will upload it to our YouTube channel, and then we're happy to reshare that link. If you then want to use that link out on your platforms, just as an interconnectedness, that's completely up to you. You don't have to do it. But if we have access to them, we'll often upload them to our YouTube channel with information about your organization and the funding, the program that the funding is highlighting. And then we utilize that in our e-news, as well as meetings with donors and friends, and emails out to our committees and our board. We do, as I mentioned, we do have a YouTube channel. It's out. This is just access to it, though. We also, what we do is we load most of the videos down onto our website when we're sharing information, because a lot of people will come and see what videos are out there. And so we tag a lot of them and then bring them down through the YouTube link onto our website. We're happy to do that. We love to highlight what you're doing because you do great work. And we want to make sure that we help spread the word and raise awareness about all of your incredible organizations. We are very cognizant of copyright and privacy. So a few things to keep in mind. When you're sharing photos, we do not need a copy of every photo release you have on file, but I do need a statement in the email or the evaluation narrative when you're sharing your photos, that the photos that you have signed releases on file or have confirmation on file that the photos may be used in public facing media. And if it's stock photos, we need to know that you purchased them, including the licensing that allows them to be used across media platforms. because a lot of stock photos have embedded licensing in them. So when you go to use them on a sharing platform, if they don't meet licensing requirements, you can't use them. The same thing with using names. We don't need to know names unless maybe it's your group of volunteers and they want their names included. We do not use names. If we do have a story with a name in it, we will often change it to protect privacy, and we will change it solely to a first name. We do that to ensure that we are ensuring everyone's privacy so that if they don't want their name plastered all over articles and stories and in quotes, that it's not out there. When you're using videos, if you're sending videos to us, please make sure that you have met all of the copyright laws for your music. Several years ago, someone sent us an absolutely wonderful link to a video they had in their cloud platform and gave us permission to use it in lots of ways. And when I downloaded it and tried to use it, I found out that it did not have all of the copyright approvals for the music that was used in the video, and I was not able to use it. So please make sure that if you're using videos that you have the right licensing in place for those songs, whether it came from a free site or you purchased it. There are great sites out there that do offer free licensed music or low-cost options for stock music, that just like stock photos. But please be sure you have those in place, because we are very careful and very cognizant of copyright and licensing laws. Evaluation. I'm right off at the top. Somebody always asks this question: when should you do your evaluation? Some programs are 2 weeks long. You can do it at the end of that 2 weeks. Some services are ongoing, so you do it when the funding is expended and you feel that you have enough information to share your outcomes. Some may be 6 months long, so you wait for the end of the 6 months. But why do we ask for evaluations? Well, we all know this. We, meaning the Community Foundation, have a responsibility to report out to our donors and our committees on how the funds were actually used and the goals and outcomes, the goals that had been set up at the beginning, and if those were met and what those outcomes were at the other end, right? So we all have, the Community Foundation also reports to funders that provide us funding. We all have a responsibility to show that we are using the funds in how they were awarded, and to update and encourage and inform our communities on those outcomes. So that's the responsibility that we ask of you, to let us know how those funds were used, that they were used in line with your application, your initial application. As you know, at any point in time, if you need to make a change, you just reach out to us, let us know what might be going on, and if you are seeing any obstacles. And then we utilize those evaluations in our stories, in our updates, and help raise awareness about the great work that you're doing in the community. As I mentioned, if you have a short time period, meaning it's a beginning, middle, end program, you wait until you have expended all of your funding and then you report on your evaluation. But some programs, for example, maybe I'm going to use, I know Bare Necessities is on the call, and so that's an ongoing service. That service is ongoing. So the organization selects the best time to report back to the Community Foundation on the outcomes listed in the application. Sometimes it's a 6-month period, sometimes it's a 12-month period. I will say, for those with ongoing programs, if we don't hear from you in about 12 to 14 months, you may get a little reminder from me that just says, what's the status of your program? Are you ready for an evaluation? Because though I know your program is ongoing, it really doesn't have an end date. But at this point, enough funding probably has been expended to report out on outcomes. And the evaluation itself is a way of saying, how did it go? How is the organization doing in its programs or services? Those that may have received more general, unrestricted, or capacity support funding need to make sure that in your narrative of your evaluation, you're tying it back to your actual programmatic or service work so that you show how that capacity support enabled you to continue with those specific programs and services. If you have not expended current funding at the next round of open cycles for applications and you want to submit an application, you will be asked to submit an interim evaluation. Those interim evaluations are available at any time. The interim form is not on the website. You just send me an email and I can send that to you. The interims are also required if you experience any obstacles that will lead to a delay in completing the program or service for which you received funding. Those interim evaluations help us to understand where you currently are, what the obstacles are that you may be facing, and what the new timeline is. The final evaluation form is always available on our website, and it looks it's the same type of platform as your application and can be submitted at any time that meets your program timing and your funding timing. Once again, when you're on the website, in the nonprofit section under the resources column on the far right is a page specifically for the grant evaluation. Currently, the budget to actual summary form is an external form, just like your budget form when you submitted your application. I really need to stress this because sometimes this happens. It looks a little different than the original budget form you submitted with your application. When you submitted your budget form, it was solely what is the budgeted cost of your program or service. The final financial form that gets submitted with your evaluation is your original budget and then the actual expenditures column. So you do need to download that form and complete it when you're submitting your final evaluation form. I'm working on reevaluating the evaluation form itself to try to embed that into the evaluation form, and so that people that can add in lines. But because our form looks a little different, I just am working on it. It will probably be about another 6 months before we make any major changes to the overall evaluation form and not have this as an external piece. When you're on the evaluation page, anyone who has received funding through our competitive process will be using the evaluation form that we refer to as the general evaluation report. Just like the application, you click the button that says start here. It's in the image in the lower left-hand corner of the slide, and it will launch the evaluation form. The evaluation form, just like the application form, has a save and continue option. There is also a cheat sheet of the questions in a PDF format on that landing page for the grant evaluation, so you can see what the questions are ahead of time. As a reminder, just like with the application, the save and continue later option puts your evaluation on a temporary URL link. I cannot access the temporary URLs. I don't see them. They're nowhere in my administrative dashboard for the website where I can get them for you. So please make sure that when it's time to start working on your evaluation, if you use the save and continue later option, do the same thing that you do when you're working on an application and copy that URL before you click send link to yourself, because you'll enter your email address, not the one that's in there. That's just an example. Because you can, if for some reason the email gets lost in cyberspace, you will have that URL pasted in your working document for your evaluation, just like working on an application. And remember, please do not start your evaluations more than 30 days prior to submission. The temporary URLs only last for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, the server platform that hosts those temporary URLs removes them, and there's no way I can get them back, or you can get them back. After 30 days, that ongoing open evaluation is no longer there. So don't start your evaluation until you're very close to making sure you have all of the information you need to actually submit. You have about a 30-day window to do that. I mentioned this earlier. I often get the question, some people have very specific program support or project support, and some is broader because it supports the capacity of a program, the overall capacity of an organization. It's really all the same, because when you write your narratives, whether it's for the Community Foundation or any other funder, you are writing about what you're doing. How are you achieving your mission? How are you making sure your programs and services are meeting the needs of your community? And what are those various outcomes? So that all speaks to the use of the funding to continue moving your organization forward in its ongoing day-to-day work. Many people, whether it's Word or if you work on an Apple product in Pages, a lot of the narratives are drafted in those documents because you can copy and paste into your evaluation form. So you can work on your narrative responses in whatever document platform you use, whether it's Word, Pages, or Google Docs. When you copy this URL, put it in that document. It lives right there it's always there for you as you're drafting your responses. So what to include in your evaluation narrative responses? We're looking for details. Look at the question, look at the goals you stated in your original application. What were you hoping to accomplish? Consider those questions as they're asked in the evaluation, and respond to each in that concept of what was the implementation, or what was the concept? Did you meet it? If it was a pilot, what was the success? Was it successful? Did you learn anything that you might change or to keep it going? Did you have obstacles? We don't mind. Challenges and obstacles arise all the time, right? That's okay. Sometimes those help to redefine a program or project, identify maybe a new issue that has evolved over time, and you had to adapt to meet that and incorporate it into your work. And that could be very helpful to others doing similar work, because sometimes as we're reading the evaluation, we may have gotten a question from another nonprofit who maybe is trying to do something in a different town from where you work. We can connect you all. We can say, oh, you know what? That was something that this organization faced, and we think they came up with a great workaround or a great way to meet that challenge, and we'll connect you, because that's how the brainstorming and the information sharing happens, so that all of the organizations are moving their missions forward in all of our communities. We also are interested in your post-grant plans. If it was a pilot, will it keep going? Do you have to adapt it? Did you think that there was a need and then maybe it really didn't serve the purposes, so you're going back to the drawing board and rethinking based on what you learned? Was it a very specific project? Did it have the outcomes you identified? Are you able to continue it, or have you now moved it into the next iteration because it was a beginning, middle, end project, and now it's taken on a life of its own, and that's a good thing? What did you learn from that, and what will, if you're going forward, how will it continue? Please remember too that a one, maybe two sentence, it was great, we had wonderful outcomes, period. That's not really a narrative response. That doesn't tell us much. What we're looking is for the details, so that we can use that information to speak about how the funding through the Community Foundation is helping to make specific things happen in the community, or specific projects come to fruition, or help an organization move forward into the next step of its work. So we're really looking for detail and for information in those narrative responses. As I mentioned, please always refer back to your original application. We're looking to see, what you thought in your original application you wish to accomplish, and then did that occur in the final evaluation that you're submitting and how you got there. Quantify who and how many were served, the actual number. Now, maybe you have a program that serves lots of people throughout the year. So it could be a rolling number, but do you have a sense of the unique individual, the unique number of touch points you're making in the community? Or was it a series of educational and community networking events? Did you have the number at each one you were hoping for? Was it more? What was that number? How many did you serve in the community? And then, of course, you're quantifying the impact based on what you thought you would originally accomplish in your application. So we're looking for the qualitative, that's the narrative, but we're also looking for some of the quantitative information as well. And of course, as always, I will make the call again. We love stories, photos, videos, quotes, anything like that, that we can help share out about your work and about what your organization does in the community. I spoke to the budget to actual form earlier when I showed you where to find it. Please make sure that you are using the budget to actual form on your evaluation. Periodically, people just use the original budget form from the application. That doesn't tell us what the actual costs are, because sometimes actual costs were different from what your budget estimates were, and that's okay, that happens. But we want to know where were you at the outset when you were working on your budget that you thought were the different line items that you were going to need for your program or project, and then where did the actual costs fall when you were actually finishing that program or that project. And any budget or funding notes, if you had challenges, or if something came through less than you thought, but you were able to incorporate something else that had been on a wish list of your budget, but really hadn't worked into your original finite budget estimations. The Community Foundation is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I'm working to make sure, I've been checking this week to make sure that we're following all of you who have pages out there. If you're on any of those social media platforms, please follow us back. We love to see you. It also moves your posts a little bit higher. As you know, the aggregates now in social media can get a little funny about what pops up in your feed at any given time. And the really important thing is when you follow us and then go to tag us in a post, I get an immediate notification in my notification pop-up on the social media, so it's easier for me to find it. I do try to go out and look at your pages if I haven't seen anything, just to see if I need to pay attention to something. But whenever possible, if you can actually tag us in your posts or in a comment under a post, which is sometimes the way you need to do it on Instagram, I will get an immediate notification, and we can go out and help share that forward, as well as a snippet for use with our our committees, and our donors. So I'm pausing for a second because I just am checking the chat here, and I got a question. Ben asked a really good question. Is there anything that we read in our evaluations that we wish the organizations as the writers would start doing or stop reporting that would help the foundation work with our donors too? So that's a great question. First of all, I can't, it's interesting that you said stop, because I can't think of anything that actually would say, don't tell us that. Because for those of you who have known us for quite some time, you know that at the Community Foundation, we consider ourselves to be really nosy in a good way. We're not nosy because we're trying to find the things that won't report on. We're nosy because the more information we have, the better we can help think about connections the better we can help share information. We just get crazy questions sometimes. Do we know an organization that does XYZ? We get phone calls. Someone's desperately trying to find an organization to connect in, and maybe they're not having any luck. So a lot of times, the more we know. So the evaluation helps us know more and understand more about the work you do, about what you're doing, and even the obstacles. That's why I say challenges and obstacles are not a bad thing. Sometimes it helps in the brainstorming. Sometimes there may be a connection out there that we wouldn't have thought to make. But if we hear about a challenge or an obstacle that an organization is facing, sometimes that triggers a brainstorm here in our offices, and maybe we can make a connection, or maybe we find out about someone who has a very specific passion area, and we would never have thought to connect them with the work that you do. So that's why we say the more information you can give, and the better, the more information, particularly in your evaluation narratives or an update. And I'll show you, I'll quit sharing this and I'll go out to the website in just a sec as a reminder. We have a quick update form on the website where if something really cool is happening, or something's you want to just get it to us really quickly, you can always send an email. We welcome emails and updates all the time, and we share those out. But thank you, Jen, because that's really why I say one or two sentence answers on your evaluation really are not beneficial, one from an evaluation perspective, but also from an information perspective, because there's just not a lot that you can put in one or two sentences that will really help us answer questions or think forward. There's all the contact information, both for getting in touch with me as well as the Community Foundation. If you can't find something on the website, please don't struggle. Just send me an email. I'm happy to say it's right here. If you have questions, please reach out. And of course, if you have ideas and stories and photos and videos, I'm making the call again. We need photos and videos. And particularly for those that are returning grantees from if you had a grant in the previous year's process, I'm looking for a lot of those photos right now as we're building our annual report. I'm going to pull up the website really quickly here, just so we have one refresh page so everybody sees where they need to find some things. If you just have a quick snippet or update, when you're in the nonprofit, under marketing your grant. So first of all, while I'm here, let me just show you once. These are the slides you've been looking at if you need them right away, but I will send them out with the video link as well. This is from the January PR and evaluation workshop. It's not much different, but I will post the new recording here. But this is a really quick short form. If there's something you have going on and you can't remember an email, you can always come to this block. When you click on it, it will, I'm going to update this because we are now headed into our 30th anniversary. We are no longer just 25 plus years. We are now, we will be celebrating 30 years next year. So keep that in mind too, because we will definitely be looking for big updates from everyone as we celebrate 30 years. But this is just a really quick form for any messages, quotes, or short stories. It's your information. You can paste it in here, whatever the update or story or quote is that you want to share here. It's a short one, just a very short one. And you can also drop in any files here for photos. And they can be JPEG, PDF, PNGs, and there is a max capacity on that. One other thing to keep in mind, when you submit your evaluation, when it's time to do that, you will receive an email that is a copy of your evaluation form. Sometimes, which I appreciate, particularly if there are a lot of photos or documents, because the evaluation form, unlike the application form, allows you to upload flyers if you've done, flyers or a brochure or anything like that. So sometimes those become really big and the servers have a hard time processing them. They're out there. I can find them. But if you don't receive your copy, so if you want a copy of your evaluation to have on file, give it 3 or 4 days. But if you don't see it come through, send me an email, because I will forward that to you so you have it for your files as well. So we want to make sure that you have that. Thank you all so much so far I've seen so many shout outs, and I'm trying to capture them all. And if you have any stories, snippets, messages, we are constantly, trying to share information with lots of groups in lots of ways. And we are honored to support your work. And your stories are our stories, because we're trying to help show how so many people make your work possible. And that's our goal, is to really raise awareness and let the community know all the great nonprofits and the great work you're doing and what it takes to get it done. So that's our objective. And we really appreciate your support. And thank you so much for all of the shout outs to the Community Foundation that you give, because that really means a great deal to us. And we do appreciate that.